Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. Hope you're all doing well. Sunday, week 14. This is probably the last week to get into the playoffs for most of you guys, so it's a huge, important week, and next week we're going to be looking at some fun playoff situations. But either way, good morning. Welcome on in. We're going to hang out for the next half an hour or so. I'll answer any questions you guys have, and we'll get set for week 14. Excuse me. Good morning to Chase. Coming in with a great question right away off the bat here, talking about the weather, and this has been something that I've been watching all week. It has not looked super great for certain areas, but looking at it now, it's saying Chicago, they're outdoors going up against the Lions. That's going to say patchy drizzle and about 13-mile-per-hour winds. Cincinnati, they're just calling it overcast, no rain or anything going on in Cincinnati. Cleveland, though, they're hosting Jacksonville. It's saying slight chance of rain showers. There is some winds that are like 10 to 15 mile per hour winds kind of all throughout the Midwest and the East Coast today. But Cleveland, we know that game's going to be low scoring. Of course, the big news was Trevor Lawrence is playing today, and I just don't think there's going to be a ton of fantasy points in that one. I believe Amari Cooper's playing as well. Joe Flacco's the starting quarterback. So Cleveland, slight chance of rain showers there. The game that's got probably the worst situation going on is going to be Houston at New York Jets. They're saying definite rain, 10-mile-per-hour winds. If I type in East Rutherford weather real quick, I'm just going to look at the hourly and see when that rain's about to hit. Let me pull it up here. So it's raining there right now in New Jersey, and by the time kickoff rolls around, yeah, it's going to rain the entire game. It looks like there. So ugly weather there. That's why. I've been getting a lot of CJ Stroud and Nico Collins questions, and I'm not super excited about that game. I think it's going to be a heavy run the ball game and probably pretty low scoring. Baltimore, they're hosting the Rams. It's saying slight chance of thunderstorms there. That's an early game. We'll see. We'll see about that. The Raiders are indoors, good to go. San Francisco looks great. Kansas City looks great. LA's in a dome. Dallas is in a dome. And then tomorrow night's games look pretty clear. So yeah, that East Rutherford, New Jersey game is the one to keep an eye on. And hey, good morning to Harris, where he's asking, drop Jerry Jeudy or Rashid Shaheed. I think in the long run, they both really don't matter. I think we're looking at both. Both receivers are not really flexible at this point. I think Jerry Jeudy, man, like we love the talent, but he really hasn't been able to put anything together this season, despite like the offense is playing well. Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton, that's working. But Jerry Jeudy, man, I'm pulling up Judy's numbers real quick right here. He has not, in the last 4 games, he's got one game over 10 points, and it was 10.8. He's got a little bit of a low floor, of 3 to 6 points. I'm probably going to, you can probably drop both, honestly. I don't know if we're ever going to feel confident starting these guys. It's probably Jerry Jeudy for me. Rashid Shaheed coming back next week, it sounds like. Nico, Monty, or Rice in a full PPR. I'm pretty excited about what Rashid Rice is doing right now. And I just think with the lack of no Isaiah Pacheco today, is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Drake McKinnon duo, is that going to be, competent enough? I think it's still a downgrade from Pacheco. So they might be throwing the ball more. And if you're looking at Rashid Rice, the last 2 games, 9 targets, 8 for 64 against Green Bay. Against the Raiders, he had 10 targets and went 8 for 107. So he's had 8 catches in back-to-back games. I think, when you talk about terms of ceiling, I think it's probably Rashid Rice. He's had some really high floors. So his last 5 games, he's had 14 points, 24, and then that floor has been 8, 9, and 9, weeks 8 through 11. And then, of course, he had some double-digit games in there. So I think Rashid Rice offers you the highest floor, highest ceiling. I do like David Montgomery. He's probably the safest play just because he scores touchdowns when he plays and he finishes the game. So I think Monty is a nice number 2. And then I'm probably going to sit Nico Collins. He's been the one guy that I've struggled to answer questions with all week. Because not only are you playing the Jets, the number 1 team against wide receivers and pretty good against QBs, but man, it's not going to be a good weather game. He's had 12, 9, and 11 targets last 3 games. I recognize that, hey, he's got a really good rapport with CJ Stroud, but I'm not really feeling confident about it. If I'm going to rank these guys, Chase, I'm going to go Rice, Monty, Nico. And hey, if Nico hurts me, I think you have some good options here that should be putting up a decent amount of points. Start two, full RB PPR, Monty, Kieran, and White. Tough matchups for Kieran Williams and Rashad White today. I'm not super excited about them. Kieran, of course, traveling to Baltimore, and then you do have Rashad White going to Atlanta, which we don't think of Atlanta as a really good defense, but they are the number one team against running backs this year. So it's a tough matchup. I think if you're looking to go for the safer route, Rashad White and Kieran Williams are probably projected more than Montgomery. They also have the most risk. So I think starting those two guys, if you're playing for ceiling here, those two guys are the guys that can get you 20 fantasy points. I don't think Monty can get you 20 fantasy points, but he is the safer play. So I guess if you're starting two, and because it's full PPR, Kieran and both Rashad White can catch passes. So I feel like their floor is higher as well. I'm going to go Kieran and Rashad White here. Harris is coming in with Kenneth Walker or Jerry Jeudy. So yeah, I'm going to read some of the actives and actives soon, and it does look like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are both expected to play. Obviously, it's not a great matchup traveling to San Francisco in a game where we don't really expect the Seahawks to be able to run the ball and kind of control the game with their running game. So I'm slightly concerned on Kenneth Walker. And again, Jerry Jeudy just doesn't offer much confidence. We're going to be happy to hit 10 to 12 points. But the thing with Jerry Jeudy today is he's playing the Chargers. So I guess I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. The fact that Kenneth Walker's first game back, also Zach Charbonnet's active today in a game where we don't expect them to be able to run the ball very well. I'm going to lean Jerry Jeudy here, Harris. And good morning to Jason. Hope you're doing well. Walker or Singletary? So that game today, and I don't know if you were here earlier, Jason, but we were talking about the weather in the New York Jets Houston Texans game. It's going to be really ugly weather. So I expect the running game to be very important on both sides of the ball for the Jets and the Texans. Singletary has lost a lot of his steam, though, since Dameon Pierce has been back for the last two games. Singletary only 8 for 36 as a rusher last weekend, 6 for 18 the weekend before. So at best, he's probably hitting 8 to 10 carries in this game. He does get the receiving work, which is nice, but he only had one catch last week. He had 6 the week before. So I'm not quite sure what his range of outcomes is. He had 5 points last week and 13.2 because of the catches that he had week 12. So I do think he is probably the better play in full PPR with Kenneth Walker, though. Like if they do get close, he is the goal line back. So, man, and I know they're going to try and make sure that they can run the ball. We also don't really have confirmation on Geno Smith today yet. I'm going to hit refresh on some of my feeds and see what's going on there. Well, we're probably not going to get an answer for a little bit while because I believe they are one of the later games. So we'll see about that. But I think, oh man, gun to my head, I want to say Kenneth Walker because it does look like Dameon Pierce has been getting the touchdowns or at least the goal line opportunities. So, man, I'm gonna go Kenneth Walker here, Jason. Puka Nacua or Romeo Dobbs. And yeah, with Christian Watson out, I can see the appeal of wanting to get our sweet Romeo in there. I'm still going to go with Puka Nacua. Stafford and the Rams offense has been hot. I know it's a tough matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, but I don't know how much the Packers are going to need to throw the ball tomorrow night. I think you're going to see a heavy dose of AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. And Romeo doesn't really have a nice floor. I think Puka has the floor. Puka also has the ceiling for those 20-point bangers. So I'm going to say Puka Nacua here. Itty bitty South City 650. Good morning. We're asking Keaton Mitchell or Breece Hall. I'm actually kind of excited about Breece Hall getting Zach Wilson back. We've seen some good games with Breece Hall and Zach Wilson. It's been a while since we've seen Breece Hall play well as a running back, but hey, he's been getting a lot of usage as a receiver. I think I'm going to stick with that floor because, man, he gets 4, 5, 6 targets per game and has been more effective as a receiver than a running back. And just with the weather today, we might see, upwards of 15 to 18 touches from Breece Hall. Keaton Mitchell, we still don't really know what his role is. I'm hopeful that maybe there's more on the plate coming off the bye, but overall, I'm going to lean with Breece Hall. I think it's going to be a decent game for him. But before I get to some questions, guys, I'm gonna read some of the active and active news that comes through on the Twitter machine. But Tyler Higbee inactive for the Rams. Dearness Johnson's active For the Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis Etienne's active. Juwan Johnson active today. I believe Taysom Hill's not playing today. So if you needed a desperation play at tight end, suppose Juwan Johnson. I'm seeing Noah Brown active for week 14. And again, Taysom Hill inactive. Tyler Boyd active. I'm not sure what was up with his ankle. The Browns are starting Joe Flacco. The Jags are starting Trevor Lawrence. So we get a Joe Flacco, Trevor Lawrence matchup. I think if you have Trevor Lawrence in a 1 QB league, I'm probably not excited to play him. I don't think he's a top 10, top 12 quarterback today. One, just the ankle takes away his rushing upside, and that's where he's been so good. He's been getting you guys rushing touchdowns for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. And it's arguably the best defense against QB. So I think I'm out on Trevor Lawrence as a QB1. I'm seeing Dawson Knox will play. That doesn't really scare me about Dalton Kincaid. I think he's earned his spot in the offense as the number 2, number 3 target. So continue to play Kincaid. And then there's the big report. It was earlier in the week, and now we're getting confirmation that Austin Eckler is expected to split carries with Josh Kelly and Isaiah Spiller. So Chargers will ride the hot hand at running back. So huge game for the Chargers today. I think if you're rocking, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, or Justin Herbert, you need the Chargers to win today, because if they go to 5 and I think if they fall to 5 and 8, we might see them kind of take the foot off the gas and start to put guys on the shelf and get ready for next season. So concerned with that. I think Josh Kelly and maybe even Isaiah Spiller, we haven't really seen much of him in his early career. Maybe he gets a little bit of boost here. So those guys are worth holding on to over the weekend. Good news on Isaiah Pacheco this morning. He's going to avoid IR, which thank goodness, because if he went on IR, he's done for the fantasy playoffs, and he's expected back sooner rather than later. So I don't know if that means week 15. I would say for sure week 16, he'll be back in there, but we'll watch for reports there. It's going to be CEH and Jerick McKinnon. I'm actually starting Jerick McKinnon in my most important league today, full PPR. I think he's been off. He's been fresh. He hasn't played in the last 2 games. I'm hoping we get both running backs kind of unleashed as low-end RB2s today. And then Chris Olave will play along with the Seattle Seahawks running back. So I'm just going to hit refresh one more time, see if anything else came through, and then I'm all yours. I'm going to answer all the questions that come through for the squad here. Harris is going drop Winston or Taylor Heineke. I think I'd rather hold on to, if you had to hold on to one, I'm going to hold on to Jameis Winston, just because we've seen Derek Carr get 2 concussions, shoulder injuries, back injuries. Like there's a chance that he could get re-injured again this weekend. And we know he's not 100%. He won't, he's like a cockroach, man. He won't give out on the season. So I'm going to hold on to Winston. Heineke, it looks like it's Desmond Ritter's job. They're winning games. They're on track to be the 4th seed in the NFC. It's probably Desmond Ritter. So I'm gonna hold on to Winston. We'll drop Taylor Heineke. Washington or Elijah Moore? Full PPR. Okay. So I actually I'm excited about Parker Washington. I did pick him up in a few of my leagues, but I think you probably got to go with Elijah Moore in this one. He did come out and get 12 targets last week from Joe Flacco, 4 for 83. I know he only caught 4 of the 12 targets, but again, with the weather today and short range targets, that should be good for Elijah Moore. Whereas Washington, he still has to deal with, Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram, and we don't really know what's going on with Trevor Lawrence today. So I'm going to lean Elijah Moore here in full PPR. I think he's good to maybe hit double digits again today. So I will go Elijah. And hey, good morning, Charlene. Hope you're doing well. Is it time to stash Mason with Mitchell doubtful? That's a good call. I did not see that Elijah Mitchell was doubtful. Let me take a look at that. Elijah Mitchell listed as doubtful today. The report that I'm seeing is from Friday. He didn't practice this week, setting up Jordan Mason for the backup role behind lead back Christian McCaffrey. This is a good deep dive here, Charlene. I think we've seen Jordan Mason, a couple times this year where he's looked good in relief duties. So yeah, I would say at least for this weekend, I like to call it as babysitting. Like I'm willing to babysit Jordan Mason for the weekend. And who knows, like if this game gets out of hand, we might see Jordan Mason, get some carries and some run in the 4th quarter here. So this could be a guy that people are talking about on the waiver wire in a day or two. So I like this call. Stash Jordan Mason right now. If Elijah Mitchell's out there too, you can maybe add him and slide him in your IR spot if he does get ruled out ultimately. But Jordan Mason, good call. And yeah, the 49ers offense right now, me and my friend Jesse were talking on Thursday night show about the offenses that, can help you win your fantasy championship. And the 49ers were one of the first ones, the Cowboys, Eagles, a couple other teams up there that will help you win fantasy championships. And hey, if CMC were to miss any time in the next month, we're looking at Elijah Mitchell. We're looking at Jordan Mason. So handcuff season, add your guys. And then I also add those Chargers backs too, Josh Kelly and maybe even Isaiah Spiller. Good morning to Ryan. Matt Gay, a good kicker today. Matt Gay, I believe he's kicking. Is he kicking indoors? I can't remember what's going on here. Let me pull up my stuff and see what we're looking at for the kicker today. He's been one of the better kickers this season. I think we're looking at Cincinnati. The weather didn't seem like to be too bothersome, so I think he's fine. I might prefer some of the indoor kickers. The one that might be widely available is the Saints kicker, Blake Groupie. You can maybe look at I don't know if Greg Joseph is out there. Maybe Will Lutz today against the Chargers in SoFi Stadium. But I'm fine with Matt Gay. I think he's a fringe top 10 kicker. And hey, the Colts move the ball. They're not really a big red zone team, so I don't mind Matt Gay today. I think I'm actually starting him in a league. Michael Carter is one of my favorite stashes as well. Unfortunately, in the team that I care the most about, I don't have the room for him. But I had him on my team. I dropped him over the bye. But hey, this is a good one because they're on bye right now, so nobody's probably looking at Arizona Cardinals players. And we know the Cardinals aren't going anywhere. I don't know if it makes sense for them to give James Conner 20 touches per game going forward. They kind of want to see what they have in Michael Carter. So Carter could do like a poor man's Michael or Antonio Gibson impression down the stretch here. So I think that is another good pull there by Charlene. In my league, we all keep 2 defenses. In some leagues, I keep 3 defenses just to one. Usually it's like I'm playing 2 teams that I like, and rotating 2 defenses, but you also kind of want to, hoard the defenses and block other teams from doing it. So I like the defensive stashes. Miami and Minnesota, your thoughts? I think we've talked about the Minnesota one. I'm not sure if I'm quite on board with the Vikings defense being a great play. I think today, maybe, let me pull up the Vikings schedule one more time here. Definitely Miami. Like, you're going to use Miami today or tomorrow night, and you're going to use Miami next week against the Jets. But after that, that's when you're looking for a new team. So I think week 16 and 17, that's when the Vikings play the Lions and they play the Packers. And I don't know if I'm going to be using Minnesota in those 2 games because both Lions and Packers offenses have been playing well. So I might look elsewhere for that week here. I'm just going to pull up some other teams here. So, like Charlene knows she's going to be using the Dolphins defense against the Jets weeks 15, but week 16, I'm just going to call out some teams that might look good for fantasy defenses. Seattle's at Tennessee that weekend. That could be a low scoring game. I think Washington versus the New York Jets, that could be a really ugly game. Green Bay defense at Carolina. I think we're all looking at Green Bay as kind of an interesting, exciting team right now. And that's a defense, Green Bay, that I want to play in week 16. Cleveland Browns versus Houston. I'm assuming Cleveland's owned. Jacksonville against Tampa Bay. Arizona against Chicago. Maybe that could be kind of an ugly game. And then you're getting Dallas at Miami. I don't want to play Miami in that game. Here's one. New England at Denver. Maybe pick up the Broncos defense if they're out there. Week 16, that could be a good spot. Kansas City's going to play the Raiders. That's a great one. And then New York versus the Eagles. I'll probably play the Eagles defense. And then Baltimore, San Francisco is a good one too. And then, Atlanta kicker is one of the better kicker plays this weekend. I believe he's probably, closer to top 5, top 10 for sure. It's at home against Tampa Bay. I actually like Tampa Bay's kicker today too. I think that game, just NFC South, is still on the line. Like, the only team that can't win it in the NFC South is the Carolina Panthers. Tampa Bay still has some fight. And Tampa Bay's kicker is probably widely available. Chase McLaughlin. That could be a fun NFC South game today. Do you like Jalen Reed for the playoffs? Jaden Reed? Oh yeah, if that's Jaden Reed for sure. We don't know what's going on with Christian Watson with the hamstring. He's obviously out tomorrow night. They've already ruled that out. So I think Jaden Reed's a wide receiver 3. Any game that Christian Watson's out, and we've seen Jaden Reed with with Christian Watson out, and he was actually a pretty good play in the first month or so of the season. So I like Jaden Reed. I think he's a playoff stash, and he's definitely a player that I trust right now. He's playing well, and Jordan Love's playing well. I'm definitely on board with Jaden Reed here. Would you add CH and not pick up a backup quarterback for the playoffs to pair with Patrick Mahomes with locked waivers? Ooh, man, if you can't make any moves during the season, the playoffs, man, I think you got to have a backup QB. You got to have a backup almost everything. And just with the report that we got today on Pacheco, I don't know if CH is the starting running back next weekend even. So it might just be like a 1 week deal for CH. I think you got to probably grab the backup quarterback, man. You just if you get into the playoffs and Pat Mahomes misses a game, you got to have a backup QB. So I'm probably doing that. Josiah, thanks for hanging out. Lamar, Love, or Fields at QB. I think I like all three of these guys today. If I'm playing one, I think Justin Fields is probably the highest floor and the highest ceiling. He's playing against the Detroit Lions. It's in Chicago. They're coming off of a bye. I absolutely love the DJ Moore matchup today. They do have the running backs healthy as well. But Justin Fields has a chip on his shoulder right now. He's trying to show that, hey, I am the guy that you guys want playing quarterback here for next season and years to come. So I think Justin Fields is probably the guy. If I'm ranking these players for you, I'm going to go Fields, Lamar, and then Jordan Love. Lamar's got a tough matchup today. I know it's at home, but it's against the Rams, and the Rams have been playing pretty well. That game might be a little bit low scoring compared to what we might think. I like Jordan Love a lot. I just don't know how much they're going to have to put their foot on the gas at New York, and we might see a lot of A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones in the second half of that game. So Fields is the QB1 for me. Look at the bottom defense. I'm not sure. The bottom defenses. Let me look at the bottom defenses. I don't know who's the bottom defenses for this week, but definitely time to start adding, defenses and look. I like looking at week 16 because technically you need week 16 to get you to week 17. So I don't really, obviously if you have a defense you want to play in week 17, that's great to have. But I think weeks 15 and 16, focus on those weeks because you can't get to week 17 without getting through those 2 weeks. Need some positive Pollard affirmations. Tony Pollard. Dude is going to get his 18 touches today, whether that's, 15 carries for 60 yards, and he's going to get his 2-3 catches. I actually think they need to unleash him today as a receiving weapon. We don't expect and this has kind of been the way all season, we don't expect teams to be able to run the ball in Philadelphia, but in a game at home, where Tony Pollard scored 3 straight touchdowns, Dallas somehow finds a way to live in the red zone, and I just think they're going to be able to move the ball a lot. So I do like the upside for a touchdown today. He's riding a nice 3-game touchdown streak. When they do get within the 1-2-3 yard line, they try to give him at least one carry. Just got to punch it in. So I like Tony Pollard today. Not sure if he's going to be a 20-point play, but I think he's somewhere in the mix between, 13 to 18 points. Reed or Marquise Brown rest of season. I'm going to go with Jaden Reed. I don't mind Marquise Brown, but he's, the injury seal's broken on Marquise Brown. It just seems to be something that happens to him every year. He's got a little bit of a slight frame, and he does have the heel injury that he left early with last weekend. I'm going to go with Jordan Love's offense right now because they're playing good football and they're scoring points. I'm going to go with Jaden Reed here, Harris. Good morning to Daniel. He says he needs 2. Eckler, Monty, Waddle, and DK. Oh, my goodness. Are we benching Austin Eckler today with the news that we've been seeing? Unfortunately, it's like the best matchup on paper for Austin Eckler. I totally wouldn't be surprised if he is the guy. But I think you got to go with Waddle for sure because they're playing Tennessee. Jalen Waddle is one of the best matchups this week. I subscribe to PFF, and they're saying Tyreek and Jalen Waddle have the best matchups for receivers going up against secondary. So to me, Waddle is the one guy that I'm going to lock in here. And then if you want to go safe, you take the Monty points in a half PPR league. He's going to get 60 to 80 yards and has a good chance at a touchdown. So I think he's looking at 14 to 15 points for you. If you're feeling DK Metcalf and you don't, if you missed out last week on his touchdown game, you might want to just basically just say, I'm going to lock DK Metcalf in every week and take the good with the bad. So I'm going to cross Austin Eckler off the list here for Daniel. I'm curious what other people think in the chat room, but I'm playing Waddle, and I think I'm going to play DK Metcalf just because I expect the Seahawks have to throw the ball. But if you're nervous about DK, go with Monty. It's a safe call, but those are the names I'm looking at. Would you drop Dearness Johnson and pick up Mason? Sure. We don't expect the Jags offense to dominate today. Traveling to Cleveland, Trevor Lawrence banged up. Basically you're just hedging that Travis Etienne, doesn't get hurt or anything with Dearness Johnson. But I'm totally cool. 49ers offense is just way different than the Jags offense, and we've seen Mason look good. So I'm fine with picking up Mason. Daniel says, Pierce, Zay Jones, or Wilson Superflex. I'm assuming that's Zach Wilson, and I'm assuming that's Damian Pierce and then Zay Jones. I think I'm just going to go with the quarterback. He's the guy that's most likely to hit you 10 to 15 points, with a touchdown or two. And he's had some time to kind of relax. Unless if that's Russell Wilson, he's the easy call. If it's Zach Wilson, I think I'm still going to go with the quarterback here. I don't know if that would be if that's Garrett Wilson, I might do that too. So I guess the answer for me is Wilson. Gardner Minshew or Desmond Ridder rest of season? I'll go Gardner Minshew. Man. He's been dealing with Michael Pittman. They do have a couple other, tertiary weapons that he likes to use, and he's shown the ability to run for touchdowns as well. With no Jonathan Taylor for the next week, 2-3 weeks, I don't know when he's coming back, but I think Gardner Minshew is the guy with the higher floor, higher ceiling. Like Olave with Taysom and Shaheed out? I think I do. I think I want to see Jameis Winston play with Olave because that's where those big games and the deep balls come from. But Olave is a good play today. I note that it's a tough matchup on paper. I don't know why the Cardinals defense, the Carolina Panthers defense is so good against all the other positions except running back. But I think Olave is a player that I trust quite a bit today. Nino, good morning. We are starting Gibbs or Rice at the flex this week. Oh man. I like Rashee Rice quite a bit today, but man, I think Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he had a pretty good game against the Bears a few weeks back. I think he's the guy that I think has the highest floor ceiling combination. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs here, but they're both really good plays. I think you're looking at 12 to 15 points minimum from the two of them. So I'm going to say Jahmyr Gibbs in a game where we expect the Lions to be able to control that game, get the running backs going. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. Colts or Lions rest of season? Let me look at the Lions schedule. I believe the Lions have some nice games on the schedule. Let's see here. They're going to get the Bears today, the Broncos, the Vikings, and the Cowboys. Don't know how much I trust that. It's looking like I'm going to say the Colts without even knowing who they play. I'm pulling that up right now. The Colts are going to get the Bengals today, the Steelers, the Falcons, Raiders. We're going Colts. Texans or Ravens defense. You probably got to go with the Texans defense today. Again, we mentioned it's going to be raining all game, and I know I answered Zach Wilson earlier, but I'm still going to go with the quarterback there. But Texans or Ravens defense, I'm gonna go with the Texans. Do you think Mason is a 1 week wonder? If Elijah Mitchell's back next week, it wouldn't surprise me. So I think either way, I don't know if this pickup's going to matter. Only if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, and then if McCaffrey did get hurt, you're probably going to see Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason kind of be a duo. I tried digging for some news on Elijah Mitchell, and I can't find if this is something that's going to be serious or linger or potentially keep him out for another game or two. So even though I like Jordan Mason, I don't know if Elijah Mitchell were to come back next week if Mason would be the guy. Yeah, I agree with Nino here. Eckler, as good as the matchup is against the Denver Broncos, I think I like the other players in Daniel's question more. We're going to go Garrett Wilson or Jaden Reed. I'm going to go Jaden Reed, man. Just no Christian Watson in this one. They like to run the ball with Jaden Reed as well. And again, we mentioned the rain. Not a lot of confidence over there. But it could be nice. Even though it's raining, it could be a nice Garrett Wilson, Zach Wilson reunion. But I think I'm going to take the safe play with Jaden Reed, which sounds weird. About DK, I'm concerned with Gino. Okay, then let's go with Monty. I'm totally fine with Montgomery in that question that was before. It's a revenge game for Montgomery. He's playing his former team in Chicago, so I think Montgomery vibes are good today for me. I would rather stash Kelly over Jordan Mason over Dearness Johnson right now, just because I'm concerned that if the Chargers lose today, we're going to take our foot off the gas, and we're not going to be able to get what we bargained for with the Chargers players. So Kelly probably the better stash. Charlene. Nino says, should I drop Howell for Dobbs just in case Dobbs goes insane with Jettis back, or just keep Howell? I mean, I don't know if we're going to be starting Sam Howell next week in fantasy football. He's going to be traveling to the Rams, and then he gets at the New York Jets, and then he gets the San Francisco 49ers. Like, those are three very difficult matchups for Sam Howell. So I'm not super excited about those matchups. I'm open. I think this is a good idea. I think looking at Josh Dobbs with Sam Howell, or Josh Dobbs with Justin Jefferson back, is a really good thought. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to let somebody else try to start Sam Howell. And again, it's at the Rams, at the Jets, and then they finish week 17 against the 49ers. So if you don't feel like you're going to start Sam Howell against the Rams next week, then I would probably move on. And I just want to look real quick because the Ravens are playing the Rams today, and the Rams do allow some quarterback points, so it might be okay for Howell next weekend, but I just don't trust him against the Jets. I don't trust him against the 49ers. Pollard or Gibbs, full PPR. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs in that one. I think he's got the better matchup. He's a big piece of that offense. They've shown the ability to use him on the goal line as well and steal touches from Montgomery. I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs here. I still like Tony Pollard as a fringe RB1, but I think you got to play Gibbs. Brevin Jordan a safe play? I think so. And again, we mentioned the rain and all the stuff that's happening in New Jersey today, but I think with Dalton Schultz out, we saw Brevin Jordan play decently last weekend. I'm trying to remember what he scored here. Let me pull that up. But the Jets are not great against tight end. They're really good against wide receivers and in some other positions, but they do allow tight end points last week. 3 for 64 against the Denver Broncos on 5 targets. I think I'm fine with him getting his 4 or 5 targets today in a game where, hey, maybe it's dink and dunk city for the Texans. Can you take a look at weather for today's games? Yeah, we did that at the beginning of the show, but let me recap real quick here for you guys. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, that game's in a dome. Good to go there. Detroit at Chicago. I'm not seeing any rain. It's saying overcast and about 9 miles per hour for wind. Cincinnati, they removed the rain tag there. Looks fine there, about 40 degrees and 3 mile per hour winds. Cleveland, they removed the rain in Cleveland for a little bit. So that's looking good. New Orleans hosting Carolina, that's in a dome. And again, the Houston Jets game, that there's going to be rain in that game. Looks like it's throughout the afternoon. The Rams at Baltimore, it says slight chance of thunderstorms here. We'll see. It's saying 98% chance of rain here, so I do think it's going to rain a little bit there. And then Minnesota at Las Vegas, that's in a dome. Seattle at San Francisco looks really nice, 60 degrees. That might be one of the better weather games of the afternoon. Buffalo at Kansas City, it's looking good there in Kansas City, 44 degrees, partly cloudy, chance of sun. And then, yeah, the Rams or the Chargers are in a dome, the Cowboys are in a dome, and then tomorrow night's games both look clear. So just I'm not overly concerned on the weather today, except for the Texans-Jets game. And again, when I go to East Rutherford weather, the hourly weather here is calling for – they're on flood watch, actually. They're on flood watch in East Rutherford right now. So it's going to rain. It's going to rain in New Jersey. Pick up Gibson with Brian Robinson injured. Yes, I'm assuming Gibson's owned in most competitive leagues already. He should have been stashed a while ago. So if there is the outside chance that Antonio Gibson's out there on your waiver wire, please go pick him up. Let me see. Did we get a ruling on Geno Smith yet? I'm not seeing anything on Geno Smith here yet. Drew Lock is prepared to start, but Geno Smith hasn't been ruled out, is what I'm seeing. So we'll see. I think you're gonna just play DK Metcalf, man. He had 9 targets in that game against the 49ers a few weeks back on Thanksgiving. I know he only caught 3 passes, but he's the hot hand right now. I'm gonna go with DK. He offers that massive ceiling. Appreciate you, Charlene. Thanks for hanging out. Good morning to Justin. We're going extra overtime today, hours, man. Usually just do 10:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time, but we're going extra for you guys today to get you in the playoffs. Brevin Jordan or Tanner Hudson. I do like Tanner Hudson. I think he's been a really decent tight end in the last month or so, and I believe when I look on PFF's ratings and grades, like they've been grading out Tanner Hudson as relatively high. But I think I'm going to go with Brevin Jordan. He's attached to CJ Stroud. I think he could be a player that gets a lot of short area targets in a game where, again, it's going to rain. Maybe Brevin Jordan is the guy that gets the team lead in targets and receptions today. So it's close between the two. I'm going to go Brevin Jordan, though, Harris. And yeah, I can't believe it either, but it kind of reminds me of what Joe Burrow and the Bengals did earlier in the year, where he was dealing with that calf injury, and they kind of redid the offense to get quick throws, not a lot of deep down the field stuff. So I don't know how much I love Calvin Ridley, blowing the top off the defense today, but there's going to be a lot of short underneath stuff. So that's where guys like Evan Ingram, maybe Calvin Ridley can be an underneath target today. We'll see about Zay Jones on the outside, but keep an eye on Parker Washington, guys. I know we've been talking about a lot of running backs to stash for the fantasy playoffs, but this Parker Washington guy out of Penn State, he might be a 1-for-1 replacement for Christian Kirk. So go check out Parker Washington. He's well worth babysitting over the weekend. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Keaton Mitchell. I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We've seen Clyde Edwards-Helaire get the backfield to himself. I know McKinnon's going to be in there, but I would imagine if they get near the red zone, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire touchdown time. It's against Buffalo. There's going to be more points scored in that game. I'm going Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Hudson or Tajay Spears. We expect Miami to win the game by 2 or 3 scores. I think this is going to be a game where Tajay Spears probably plays more than Derrick Henry. I'll go Tajay Spears. A 35-yard field goal in Chicago with 40 miles per hour. So funny. Oh, my goodness. Good morning to Brian. I don't think we're playing Trevor Lawrence today. Sure, he could surprise us, but it doesn't look good. Despite the ankle, he's playing on the road against the number 1 team against QBs. I would probably rank Trevor Lawrence as like QB 15, 16 in that range. Some names that I would play over Trevor Lawrence, maybe Jake Browning, Jared Goff, Dobbs, Russell Wilson, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy. Some names in there that I think I would play. Maybe even Derek Carr, maybe Baker Mayfield at Atlanta. Nico Collins or Jaden Reed. Man, Nico's been such a boss lately. This is personally what I would do, and I'm concerned about Nico Collins today. It's the worst matchup for receivers. It's going to be a rainy game. I don't know what to expect. I like Jaden Reed a lot. No Christian Watson. I think he's the safer play. But if you're a team that's, I'll paint it this way. If your team's already in the playoffs and you're just fighting for, the second, third, fourth seed, whatever, just play Nico Collins. He's the more fun play. I think if you're trying to make the playoffs and you're on the border and you need to lock in 10 to 12 points, I'm probably going to play Jaden Reed. But swing for the fences. I think you go with Nico here just because I think he should get targets. Full PPR, pick one. Keaton, Higgins, Downs, or Addison. Keaton, Higgins, Downs, or Addison. That's a tough one. I don't really know if I want to play Jordan Addison just with Justin Jefferson being back. I'd like to see what that looks like before we thrust him into the starting lineup. So I'm going to pause on Addison. Josh Downs has not been playing well enough for me to trust him in my lineup. So it's looking like Keaton Mitchell or T. Higgins is going to be where I end up answering this question. I think just a quick gun to my head. I'm going to go Keaton Mitchell, man. I'm going to take those 10 to 15 running back touches and go with Keaton Mitchell today. Any concerns about Olave with the injured Carr? Last time this happened, it was bad for him. If Carr goes down, I think you get Jameis Winston, and for if you have Chris Olave, I think personally I have Olave in a league or two. I want Jameis Winston in there, so I'm not concerned about the Carr injuries. If Winston does come in, they're going to let him do his thing. He's gonna break some eggs and throw some picks, but I think Winston, I'm fine with it. And honestly, that's been one of my that was one of my reasons for being okay with drafting Chris Olave, because if anything did happen to Carr, you got a gunslinger in Jameis Winston that's going to give him opportunities. So personally, not concerned with Chris Olave today. Justin says Gibbs, ETN, Ridley, Henry, Addison, Mostert need 3. Okay, we're gonna go Jahmyr Gibbs for sure. I think I kind of want to lock Raheem Mostert in there. I mean, they're what? They're 13-point favorites at home. I think Mostert's going to find a way to get there. So we're looking at the Jags guys. We're looking at Derrick Henry. We're looking at Jordan Addison. I'm going to cross Addison off the list just because I don't know if I trust him. Give me Travis Etienne. He's probably going to be the focal point of the offense today. He might be, a handful of receptions. I'm going to play the running backs: Gibbs, Etienne, Mostert. I'll leave Henry on the bench. I know he's been playing well, but I just don't trust it in a tough road matchup against the Dolphins. Thielen, Chuba, Rashee Rice need 2. We're going Rashee Rice for sure. Slightly concerned with Adam Thielen. We haven't really seen him play well for a handful of weeks. I think Chuba Hubbard is probably the guy that's going to get the volume, so I'm going to go Chuba and Rashee Rice. And hey, good luck to everybody. Let's make the playoffs. I'm going to get out of here in a few minutes, though, guys. I got some things to take care of before the games start. We got Jordan Love or Kyler Murray rest of season to pair with CJ Stroud. I'm going to go with Jordan Love. We know the schedule is really good. Packers offense is ascending, and they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe I don't know if the Cardinals even play Kyler Murray for every game the rest of the year. So it's Jordan Love for me. CH or the starting running back for the Green Bay Packers. Is that Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon? I'm gonna wait for. I'll play Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'll play CH. Brian says we're leaning Ritter out of Ritter, Flacco, Lock, or Carr. Had Carr earlier this year. Really nervous to play him. Yeah, I would be too. With just 2 concussions this last month or so, back and shoulder injuries. I'm fine with Desmond Ritter here. I think I agree with you. It's a good matchup for the quarterbacks going up against Tampa Bay. It's in Atlanta. They have playoff implications on the line today. I think we're going to get a good game from Desmond Ritter and hopefully London and Pitts as well. Daniel says Dameon Pierce, Zay Jones, or Noah Brown. I'm going to go Dameon Pierce. I think Dameon Pierce is set up to get 15 to 18 carries, and if they do get near the red zone, man, he's been the touchdown guy. Last week he got the goal line carry. So I'm gonna go Dameon Pierce. If I'm ranking them, I'm gonna go DP, Zay Jones, Noah Brown. I always liked Elijah Dotson in preseason with the Chargers. Okay, that's a good name to file away. Elijah Dotson. We'll see if he gets some run down the stretch here. But last question for the day, and then I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Jordan Love or CJ Stroud for today? I'm going Jordan Love. Again, I understand CJ Stroud's been balling out all year, but again, I'm concerned about the Jets matchup. I'm concerned about the rain, and Jordan Love and the Packers offense has been pretty good. And Jordan Love's been, I think there's only like 2 or maybe 3 games where he wasn't a top 12 QB this year. So to me, Love is the answer. And hey, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this morning. I'm going to get out of here. If you guys do have any final questions, pop them over in the Discord, hit me up on Twitter, comment on the YouTube video. Good luck today, guys. Enjoy the football. We'll see you on the waiver wire streams. Take it easy.